Hey, this is Xiaoyu, and this is a story about shells, memory, and my mama. It's also about comics, about joy. And you know how sometimes when you don't have the words, you start with a line. This piece is called Shell Thief. And I guess it started years ago when I left home and my mama handed me a small red notebook. It's her journal. She didn't say much, just passed it to me like she was giving me not a story, but a silence I need time to understand. I probably didn't pay much attention to it at that time, and I kept it in a drawer for a long, long time. But time passed. I grew older. So did she. Eventually we found ourselves together again, halfway across the world, on a place called Tapuatai, One Foot Island. We were both older, and we were more than just mother and daughter now. We were two women who'd aged in different time zones. Throughout the years, we hadn't had much chance to spend time together, and we didn't talk much. But on the island, we walked, we collected shells, and somehow the space between us got smaller. I started noticing her again. How she moved, what she picked up, what she said, and what she didn't. When we got back, I opened the journal, and it was strange because it wasn't a story in the way I expected. There were poems, reflections, half sentences. Some parts were gentle, some were raw, and some pages felt like they'd been waiting there for me, but it wasn't complete, and that felt right. Because memory is not complete either. It's fragmented, slippery I would call it, and it's sometimes very beautiful, sometimes hard to hold. That's why I didn't translate it literally. I didn't want to. I started drawing instead. I drew shells. I used blackouts, erasure, covering parts of her words, letting others rise up. This is not to hide her voice, but to review it differently. Because I want to braid her voice with mine. And slowly, the comic emerged. Not as a retelling, but as a duet. When I showed her the comics, she said, "I didn't expect you to draw this. It feels like you're helping me remember myself." And when I heard that, I paused. I think it's the first time I saw the comic, not just as mine, but ours. Like we were building something across time. That's what comics can do, I think. They hold space. They let multiple voices sit beside each other. They let memory unfold, not in a particular order, but in emotion. I remember one day on the island, we did yoga together. She stood so steady in tree pose, and I was wobbling, like a leaf in a storm. She smiled and said, "Let your branch move with the wind." That's her. That's how she's always lived. And in that moment, I stopped trying to copy her. I just mirrored her and tried to find the same kind of peace in me. And that felt like love. We went for swimming too, She never learned how to swim. She's actually quite afraid of water. But that day, she walked into the sea. I held her hand, she floated. And I thought, maybe strength isn't something we pass down in words. Maybe it's something we offer when we are needed the most. And she said to me, when you're next to me, I'm not afraid. Yeah, me too. That night, we laid our shells on the deck of our bungalow. We were sorting the shells and I gave her one and said, "This one looks like your handwriting." And she gave me one back and said it looked like the necklace I was wearing. The next morning when we woke up, we noticed the basket was empty. We then realized those were hermit shells and the hermit crabs had taken them, carried them off. At first, I thought, oh, they stole them. But no, they returned them to the ocean, to memory, to wherever things go when they are no longer just ours. That's why this comic is called Shell Thief. This isn't just a story about my mama or me. It's a story about what happens when we let our truth tangle. When we stop trying to own memory and start letting it breathe. If you've ever held a memory too tightly or wished you could say something across time, maybe this is yours too. Enjoy.